Jump right into this topic then. So, we're talking today about how to grow more responsibility in kids this school year. How do we involve them more in chores or taking care of their own school responsibilities, backpacks, lunches, or picking up their toys more efficiently, is what a lot of parents are asking about, cleaning up after themselves. So, let's dive into this. I want to share the first half hour. I'm going to teach on some things, and then the second half hour, we'll ask questions. So, my outline of what I really want to talk through is really three main pitfalls and then the three solutions to those pitfalls. Because, as always, if you've been here with me for a while, you know I'm pointing us to like what we do that feeds this going well versus the things we do that sometimes lead to it not going well. And so let's start there. So the first key thing that I think that we often can fall into is these three main traps. The reminder cycle, right? Notice what it feels like if I say to you, did you pack your bag? Did you brush your teeth? Did you get your shoes? Do you have your coat? Did you clean up downstairs? What do you find yourself thinking, feeling, or deciding? You could answer that, not just a rhetorical question. Anyone who's listening. Megan, just leave me alone. Gosh, you're such a nag. Yeah, Julia.
Yeah, just that I'm being told what to do instead of having any choice in the matter.
Yeah, so it can feel that top-down authoritarian kind of
Mhm.
parenting, which some kids are okay with, but some strong-willed or more sensitive kids either cave or fight and have one of those two reactions with us. So if we're in the reminder cycle, that's part of what's not working. We can hear it. As we hear it, it's like, that doesn't feel empowering. That doesn't really motivate me to be more responsible. The second key thing that I think we fall into that leads to the kids not taking more responsibility is over rescuing. So, for instance, I was just talking to a mom who's a past client, just sent me a voicemail question today and laid out this scenario of walking her child to school because the friend was not available down the street who has been walking with her. So, sort of a last minute change. And she said, okay, I'll walk with you. So they were on the running late side. And as they were walking, the child wasn't going very fast. And she's like an 11-year-old or something. So she gets in this rhythm of like, come on, we got to get going faster. Come on, you've got to go faster than this. Like, hurry up. We're going to be late. Hurry up. And really, whose problem is this to own? Is that her job to make sure that her daughter doesn't get there on time? Or could this be a teachable moment to not rescue, not rush? Say she's 11, she knows what pace it would take to get to school on time. She's been walking with a friend, and just be there for her to be able to process with you the outcome afterwards. And sometimes that's the hardest thing for us, right? I know there was a time last year when my son was doing great at being responsible, taking his instrument to school. And then one day he forgot it. And I was like, oh, that's okay, honey. I'll go home and grab it and I'll bring it back to the office. And then guess what? He started forgetting his instrument more often and being a lot less responsible than he had been the whole school year. And so my over rescuing got in the way of him thinking he really needed to remember and be responsible for that. Like, mom will take care of it. So, first of all, we sometimes get in that reminder cycle. We're owning all the reminders. Secondly, we over rescue. Can anyone relate to any of these two things so far? Give me a thumbs up or a comment. You can unmute Megan. Yeah. Welcome back, Lindsay. I'm glad you found us and are able to join us. So, we're talking about the two main pitfalls that continue kids not being responsible. The first being that we get in a reminder cycle of, did you do this yet? Why haven't you done this? Hey, you need to do this. And we also can end up over rescuing them from the outcomes that would be a natural teacher. What makes that hard for us? Would you guys put it in the chat? gosh, because I know for me, the over rescuing is that I I just hate for them to suffer. I don't want him to suffer the peer pressure of not having his instrument. Also, I want him to keep learning, and also I want to be like the good family that brought the instrument. That I know the teacher's always like frustrated when people don't bring instruments. So I'm thinking of everyone else in the scenario more than my child's learning opportunity. Carl, did you want to share something when because you unmuted?
No, I'm sorry. I clicked accidentally. I was just
Oh, no problem. I'll go ahead and mute you. Or, sorry, did I cut you off? Okay, feel free to share or put in the chat. Beverly says, it's hard because I feel that the adults at the school expect us to encourage being on time. Absolutely. So again, I want you to think about the fact that, but am I prioritizing in the big picture when this kid is 25? Am I going to say to myself, I'm so glad I made sure Mr. Wilson was not frustrated that Caleb didn't have his instrument? Or am I going to say, I'm so glad I had that teachable moment that he got to learn the outcomes because now at work, in the job he has, he understands I'm not bringing the instrument. You know, if he forgot his report due at work, he's going to have to face the consequences. I think I'm probably going to think the second if I can fast forward and stand in those shoes. And as a book called How to Raise Mentally Strong Kids says, it's like we actually should be like jumping up and down when we have these opportunities to be like, yes, these are the golden moments to be able to teach something. This moment for this kid to experience it, while the costs are really so low, the effect of him getting a little bit in trouble or having a frustration with peers because he's forgot his instrument is a way better teacher than all my nagging and reminders ever could be. So they say, look and hope for opportunities that your kids can experience small levels of frustration and, things not going their way so that they can learn from them. Julia, great question. She says, at what age is it appropriate for them to be responsible for the things like library books or gym shoes? And I mean, I think that's subjective for every child, depending on ADHD or other elements that may be going on for your unique child. But generally, I'll just say anecdotally, I started having my kids be more responsible for that last year, where they were 6 and 8. Or no, not 6 and 8. How old are my kids? 8 and 10. So I would say scaffolding that led to that, though, of them really learning from the moment, did come some earlier times. There are other ways, like there was a time when my daughter was 5, I think, that she forgot her dance shoes. She forgot. Well, I was owning a lot more of that at the time. So technically, I forgot. But we got there, and in the end, she had to own it and borrow a pair of shoes from the lost and found that really didn't fit right. We're a little bit size too big to get through the dance class. But oh my gosh, that moment of her being able to experience that, and me not rescuing me, like, okay, I'll run home, I'll get your shoes. Like, we realized it halfway there, and I said, we're gonna have to figure this out there. So I think you can scaffold having them own it as young as 5 and 6, that you're starting to say, hey, together, let's remember this. And if you get somewhere and they say, you forgot a water bottle, it's fine at 5 and 6 to be like, actually, if I bring you a water bottle, that's a plus, but it is not my job to have a water bottle for you at this age. I try to help that, but you also can start remembering and thinking when we're going out the door, I think I'm going to want a water bottle. So you can scaffold towards it. What about the golden rule? Carl says, don't treat others or treat others as you would want to be treated. Well, that's absolutely true, but we have to remember this isn't just an other. Our unique relationship with our children is a teaching relationship that we do not have with anyone else on the planet. We don't have exactly the same with our peers, with our partner, with our coworkers. It is our job to be equipping them for life. And so it's not that we want to be intentionally harmful to them, but also if we're overly rescuing, we're robbing them of their learning opportunities. Love, I'm trying to see. Okay. So, second main obstacle is if we're over rescuing, they're not getting the chance to learn. Second thing that we do is we may have, like maybe to your point, Carl, we could also be on the other end of the spectrum instead of over rescuing, being overly harsh and having too high of expectations. Like I've known people that are coming to me and telling me like, why will my 4-year-old not get themselves dressed? I come in there, I'm like, it's time to get dressed. I go down to dress myself, get my coffee, get my lunch made, and I come up and they're not dressed. Okay, that's not really age appropriate to completely expect a 4-year-old to be getting dressed without a parent maybe at least present. We're always scaffolding, right? From that point when they're 1 and 3, that you're actually physically getting them dressed to like, hey, let's pick out the clothes for you. And I'm like, we're working together on, do you want to put this part on first or that? And you're constantly trying to grow what part of them they're doing on their own. But we want to kind of the Goldilocks approach. We want to not be expecting too much, but also not be expecting too little. Okay, so what does that look like? What do we want to do instead? What we want to do instead is these 3 things that I think answer those questions. So first of all, many of you were like, I want my kid to be able to be more cleaning up their own stuff. So Lindsay, at the very beginning, before you were on, and maybe you too, Carl, I asked, what is the number one thing you wish your child would take more responsibility for this year? So if you want to add that into the chat, I would love to make sure I'm addressing that as I'm talking. But first main thing, externalize the reminders. So if you're tired of consistently saying, hey, you need to pick up a toy, Julia, before you go on to your next toy, it's like, do we have any visual reminders in the environment that show like when it's clean, then you get to go to the next thing? Kids thrive on what we call social stories. So this is one I made around bedtime, and like when you lay in bed and I check on you 4 times, you get breakfast with your cartoon with your breakfast. If you come out, you're letting me know the door might need to be shut. This could go on a door and really quick visual snapshot hold for the child what that agreement is. So how could you draw a similar kind of picture for the playroom agreement that looks like a little bunch of toys? Like they could be stick figures literally in a box equals next toy or something like that, like something that can just physically stick figure in a visual snapshot, hold that is one key thing. Second key thing can be like external, tools, like a bedtime or morning routine list. So if you'd like that, some people want them to clean something up before they go to the next thing. Others want to make sure at least that it's just cleaned up before the end of the night. So then that might be having a calendar or like a rectangle with 5 slots. That's like before we start brushing our teeth and going to the bathroom and getting PJs on, maybe step 1 is cleanup. And we're going to set a timer for 5 minutes, or we're going to start a song, and the whole family is going to work for 5 minutes to clean up together. So mom and dad might be wiping tables and getting the dishwasher loaded, while the younger ones, it's their job to be picking up the toys that they got up during the day. But those sort of externalized reminders help you to not have to be the bad guy that's always saying, hey, this needs to happen. Another thing about that is making sure that we have set agreements in advance. That's part of being able to make the picture, is we've had the conversation to agree in advance. If we just sometimes, and I don't know about you, Julia, but I am bad at this. I have a bit of ADD myself. So here I tell my kids, you need to clean up after yourself before you go to the next thing. And here, if you could look at my current office all below this screen, you would see I have not done that for weeks of finishing one thing I was working on before I went on to the next thing. And so obviously I'm also not good at consistently really holding them to that because my mindset regularly wants to go to the next fun thing, the next fun thing, the next interesting thing. So like I wish you could see my kitchen right now. I've been like in a battle with my husband that like we'll keep the table clean, but there become all these piles sitting on the ground next to the table of the activities we've been working on that I think my daughter's gonna still work on tomorrow or the next day. And so I guess I'm just saying, if I were to have to really hold them to that, I would have to make that agreement in advance that what is that going to look like realistically for me? Am I always going to be next to them when they're doing a craft project to watch and call them out to stop and clean it up before they go to the next thing? Or is it more reasonable for me that, that just doesn't fit my personality and what my day looks like? And so we're going to make a plan that it's something we do at the end of the day. So I guess I'm just saying, like, be realistic of what you're asking them and whether that fits your personality of follow through and whether it's really realistic and sustainable in your family pace and schedule. Okay. Lindsay's also adds, I'd love for them to be better at cleaning up after themselves, doing chores without nagging or power struggles, and bedtime routines. Yeah. So I'm going to be sending a few resources in the materials that, or the follow-up of having this recording afterwards. And one of the things that I want to share with you is a little routine worksheet handout that I have that I think is a great tool to be able to, let's see, I'm trying to see if I can bring this up, to be able to make it so you can easily like just have that kind of a rectangle of if you want them to be better at the evening routine, let's have a chart that shows, hey, the things that need to get done are this, 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 and this. And then second key piece when we talk about over rescuing them being one of our challenges, in order to not rescue them, that means being clear about what the outcomes of their choices are and following through. Lining out with them, what's the happy choice of getting bedtime done and what does that lead to? What's the sad choice of not doing your things on time and what that leads to? So that could look like, okay, instead of me reminding you 15 times that you've got to get your teeth brushed, new plan. I'm just going to set a timer for 6 minutes. After we've gone upstairs and already gotten everything ready downstairs, like shoes and backpack are ready for tomorrow, that feels like a reasonable amount of time to brush your teeth, go to the bathroom, and be in your room with your PJs on. So boys and girls that get that done by that amount of time are going to have 2 books read by me, and boys and girls that don't are going to have the opportunity for 1 book to be read. So you choose how you're going to use your time. That tends to go so much better at not having to repeat, and for the kids to start taking ownership. And I'm shocked at how kids love this system because it puts them in the control seat. Like, right, Julia and Megan and Beverly, you've been working on this for a while. Maybe Carl, you may be able to share, like you end up having your kid come to you, right? And be like, Mom, you got to get 2 books for me because I just did it quick and snappy. Like they love being able to tell you in a way what you are going to have to do because they're a part of that agreement in advance. Motivates them way different than just us imagining they're going to enjoy making us happy. They might enjoy that to some degree, but mostly they enjoy things that affect them. So same with the cleanup. I had a mom that I used to work with who had a great win then, so that to let them learn from their own choices instead of nagging and rescuing. She said, I'm tired of nagging you to pick up your toys. New plan. Anything that is not picked up at the end of the night, the gunny sack monster is going to eat, gobble up and keep in his cheeks for 2 days. And she literally took like a old pillowcase and put like some silly eyes, nose, mouth. And it was like, this is the little like, and then it became this like fun, playful bad guy, again, about externalizing the bad guy instead of just you nagging them. And it was just, I'm just being clear. I don't have to, I mean, you feel free to leave everything on the ground. I'm just letting you know those things will not be available for 2 days if I'm the one picking them up at the end of the night. And similarly, I used to do this a lot with my children when we were trying to clean up together, and they'd be like picking up one thing and standing there while I'm picking a lot of things up with them. I would just stop and say, okay, hold on, I'm going to stop. I want to be clear. If I'm cleaning up all by myself, I'm going to put all these items away in a basket for 2 days because you're showing me it's just too much work to put them away. So I'll just take care of them and they won't be available for 2 days. So it's not a problem for you to have to pick them up. But if you want to pick them up with me and show me you're able to, then those ones you pick up will be saved. So again, not over rescuing by just like, they're like, I'm so tired though. Like, okay, but next time you have to clean up. No, we're rescuing. We're not letting them have the opportunity to learn. And then final thing to avoid the pitfalls is make sure we're problem solving with them. So if you've got a plan that they need to feed the dogs and unload the dishwasher, Lindsay, and they don't do it, first of all, let's make sure that we've got a clear when then. Like, oh, wait, we agreed that when you fed the dog and unloaded the dishwasher, then you were welcome to play with friends after school. So, you're either calling them or calling them in from play and going, hold on, come on back. I can see that you didn't take care of your jobs yet. And as soon as you have done your chores, then you're welcome to play with the neighbors. And when you're not done with your chores, we're inside the house. A part two, if they're like, I just forgot. That's the place to problem solve with them then. Okay, and maybe Julia, with your kids not cleaning up before they go to the next thing. I just forgot, Mom. So problem solve with them instead of lecturing them. Well, what's missing? What can we do to help you remember? Like maybe we could have a timer in the playroom that anytime you start playing with something, you first start a timer for 10 minutes because you're probably going to play with something for about 10 minutes before you want to go to the next thing. And that timer will either go off and you're still playing and that's great, or that timer will go off and you'll hear it from upstairs, or the next thing you're doing, it'll be a reminder, oh yeah, I didn't put away the last thing yet. Maybe that's something that would help you. So problem solving with them, what's something that can help you remember, which does not include me nagging and reminding. So those 3 things I think will really help you get out of the obstacles that have led to them not taking responsibility. Finally, just to be super tangible, I want to share that there are many chores that kids can be doing at a young age. So I do have a family chore options handout that I will also share with you after, when I send you the reminder of this. Oops. And I want to bring that up just to show you real quick. There are lots of these available at different places online as well. If that feels like you want to look for one that's prettier or something else. Why is this not showing up? I'm so sorry. Oh, there we go. It's because it's doing like a zip thing. All right. So if you're someone who's wanting to incorporate your kids being more involved with chores this year, here are a few things I want to share about this. A, look at lists that show you what's age appropriate so that you're not, again, you want to be Goldilocks. You don't want to be expecting too much or too little. Like there are a lot of things that kids can be doing, but you can look at this list and see what matches your family needs and connects with what your kids seem to be interested in or feel capable of. There's a space down here to ask yourself some questions. Does this feel realistic and sustainable for them to be involved in these different things? And there are ways, I don't think a checklist like this typically works great for kids, but sometimes they do. You could put this in a sleeve and say, every day you need to choose one thing from this page that you're going to help the family with. Or every Saturday, we're going to choose one thing for each person to do, and we're all working for 20 minutes on that. Or some people will utilize what positive discipline calls family wheel of choices, kind of. And I want to show you that idea. So that could be a job wheel like this that you brainstorm what some things are and you rotate, whether it's emptying the dishwasher, emptying the garbage, watering the plants. You know, dad has two chores, Gibson has two chores, Emma has two chores, is what this list is looking like. And then rotating it each week. Different families have different ways of doing this. I found for our family, it's worked best in terms of having kids be more involved, to have a daily responsibility where every morning they take turns, one person's job to empty the dishwasher, the other person's job to run the vacuum all around the kitchen and dining room area, because those two things always have to happen every day. And so they have a little list, or we had a chart physically on the fridge at first, then we have an electronic thing now that reminds them. And then every Saturday, we have a list of a few chores that or Sunday, they have a list of things they're responsible to do. And again, it takes us being consistent, not rescuing them, being clear about the expectation in advance that we're not going anywhere until we've done those things, for that to become a real rhythm of happening. And then involving them in other parts of cleanup looks like, hey, we're all going to clean up dinner together. And that used, when they're younger, that started with them bringing their plates over to the sink, and that was it. Then they ran off and play. As they got older, it involved putting that all the way into the dishwasher and clearing all of the serving things as well. As they've gotten older, it's now we're all doing this till it's totally done. Vacuuming under the kitchen table, wiping down the table, getting everything in the dishwasher, scrubbing, drying, and putting away pots and pans, maybe wiping down the stove, the counters, putting everything back in the fridge. Nobody's going anywhere until we've gotten the whole thing done. And doing the same thing more when they're coming out of, like when we get home from camping or a trip. It used to be like they brought their stuff in, said, can we go play? And we were like, great, go play while we take care of everything. Then scaffolding it little by little till now it's become, we're all working until every single thing is really put away. The laundry is all in the laundry room, the bags are unpacked, and your stuff is either put back in the drawer or the bathroom or the laundry or wherever it needs to go, etc. But again, a lot of that comes from having agreements in advance and following through, not being afraid to have them experience the frustration of the outcome of the boundary that we've said needs to happen. Like, yep, even if the neighbors are knocking on the door, we're saying we'll be with you in 5 or 10 minutes. We'll see how long it takes for them to help with their chore to be done. Okay, I want to open it up to questions now. What have we not addressed of what your questions are about how to help your kids be having more ownership and more responsibility this year?
So I do have a question. So right now our playroom is a complete disaster. I'm almost too overwhelmed to go in there and pick it up. So I told Barton, my husband, last night that I kind of just want to put everything in a bag and then basically tell him it's like checking out a toy.
Yeah.
You can check out so many things, and then when you're done with them, we will put them back, and then you can check out something else. I don't know how to go about it, but
Yeah.
it's like that. It's like just a pain point.
Well, Megan, you're hitting on a thing that I think is true for so many families. I read a book called Simplicity Parenting, and he said something like the average American child has 500 toys, and that doesn't even count like the pieces of Legos. Like Legos is still just a number one. And so you think about, of course, like, yeah, I want to get out this and this and this and this and this, and putting it away is not as fun. So one of the things that can help clean up, you'll see this in Montessori schools, Waldorf, it's way boiled down. There's a lot less there so that the kids, it's achievable to put it back away. And so I think you've nailed it. Always less is more. I, again and again with my children, started this when they were 1.5. There'd be like moodiness or like not cleaning up, or just, I feel like there's just so much crap all the time. I'm a thrift store person, so I always love to like get more and more and more and more. But then every time I think, let's just get rid of like half of it. And you don't even have to get rid of it, just put it in a closet. They would just seem more relaxed, more peaceful, more engaged in play, and more able to put it away. So less is more, absolutely. It may take too much work for you to always have to check it out. You're not a librarian. You need to also
Right.
do lots of other jobs in your home, right? Making dinner, all the, going to work, managing your life. So you may want to split the difference there of like, let's squirrel away 75% of it and let's leave 25% out and say something like, hey, buddy, when you show me that you can do a great job of cleaning stuff up each night when it's time to clean up, then we can maybe bring out a few more things, or we can, if you want to let me know that you don't want to have the magnet tiles and you wish the dinosaurs were back out, we can trade them out. We can do a 1-for-1. Or
Okay, yeah, and I do find that when he has so much stuff out, he's not even playing with half of it. It's just strewn across all the
it's
floor.
like
It's
clothes,
crazy.
right? You ever go to your closet and be
Yeah.
like, I have nothing to wear. And it's like, I swear, if you could just
Okay.
probably get rid of 75% of it and you knew you had your favorite 10 shirts, you wouldn't have that problem. Yeah.
And then I had one other question, and it's about, what's your thoughts on the skylight calendar? And
Yeah,
like
so
with the
that's
work, do you
actually
know
the
much about
digital
it?
electronic reminder that we use in our family. So I love
Okay.
that it has two functions. One is you can set, so like we used to do that every other day. It's someone's job to do the dishwasher and the vacuuming, and I would always forget whose turn. Then there'd be these fights. No, I did it yesterday. No, I can't keep it straight. So we tried a couple other tools, but then that became really nice because it's just automated and it just shows right there, and also has a little button you can push and then gives a little woo of confetti when they've done their thing, which is kind of fun. And then
Okay.
also you can add other chores on there where they can get like stars, which you could connect to anything you want. If you want to have additional jobs listed there in those kind of calendars, sometimes you can have them have more ownership, that like if it's like baseball is this day, there could be a note under it that there's, you need your glove, you need a water bottle, you need your cleats. And
Oh.
so there are things like that. There's also one you can just get right on your phone that's called Jam. And it's really essentially the skylight, but without buying the physical item that's $200. It's an app that's like $15 a month. So there's still an expense there, but it has great features that can electronically remind. And if you don't want your kid using your phone, that could be like a family iPad that's set up in the kitchen or something like that where they see that. So yeah, there's lots of tips and tricks that can be used electronically. If anyone else has additional ones, put them in the chat. But I want to go to a few other people for questions. Thanks for asking that, Megan.
We just got a skylight a few weeks ago, and I'm still kind of dabbling and figuring it out. We haven't quite started using it yet for the kids' chores, although they're excited too. So I think it's going to be a good thing for our family having that resource. And I like the idea of setting something up every other day because I think that's a little more doable. So it's not
Mhm.
like, oh, I have to feed the dog every single day.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so I like that. And maybe we'll just have two chores that they switch for now. But I actually have a question about feeding the dogs. Last night when we got home, I was starting dinner and I asked my son, who's 7.5, I asked him, like, hey, bud, would you feed the dogs for me? And he was just like, no, I'm going to go play with my Legos. And it wasn't, I didn't tell him to.
Yeah.
It's not
Right.
technically one of his chores,
Technically, you
but I was
asked,
just like,
would you?
I
Yeah.
asked if he would. He said
You,
no, and he said it very politely. And then
yeah.
I was like, I don't want to push him.
Yeah.
So I was just like, okay, I guess I'll do it, is how I said it. And he walked away and that was fine. But in that situation,
Yeah.
I was asking for help because I was doing
Yes.
something. What it's not, we don't have an agreement in advance that that's his job. He does feed the dogs sometimes for me, and sometimes he'll do it on his own. He'll ask, like, "Hey, can I feed the dogs tonight?" I just didn't know what to do in that situation other than just say, "Okay."
Yeah.
Do you have any
So
suggestions?
I
Like,
do, and
I
I've
didn't
been
want to
in
push
this
too hard.
scenario myself. So what I would do if I was standing in your shoes is pause and go, you know what? I'm sorry. I said that wrong. That's not what I meant. What I meant to say is I need you to feed the dog. And as soon as you fed the dog, you're welcome
Okay.
to go back to the Legos. Or as soon as you fed the dog, you are
Okay.
welcome to spend the rest of the time while I'm cooking playing Legos.
I
And then,
like that I said that wrong because usually if I flip it and say no, you have to, it pisses him off. Like he flips right away, like
yeah,
I'm
so
nagging him. So I like that.
you're
Oh,
owning,
I made a mistake in the way I said it. I actually
yes,
need you to do this for me. Okay.
yes. Let me try that again. What I meant to say was, um, you need to, or I need you to feed the dog. But
Mhm.
also, I will say those things tend to go better from age 4 to 20 if we can make some agreements in advance. So if
Yeah.
we just,
Yeah.
like, think about it. If, like, even my husband is like, hey, can you do that? Can you take out the trash? Can you this? Like, if I'm in a mindset of like, I'm about to call my sister, like we all have a mindset, including our kids. And so it's not rudeness to not want to just like always jump on helping with that task. It might be like, well, I was about to call my sister. Could I do it later? And I think our kids don't always think to that also. So that's another option as well. So if he's like, nope, I'm going down to play, could be like, oh, okay, well, let's talk about this. The dog does need to be fed before we sit down for dinner. So do you want to do it before you go play Legos or right before we eat dinner? So that's another way you
Mhm.
can put it on like a choice brain and respecting, oh, you
Sure.
had a track of something you were about to be in the middle of. So if you've agreed in advance, that makes it easier because you're like, wait a minute, what was our agreement? It's that you always feed the dog before dinner and we're about to go to dinner. If you haven't made an agreement in advance, you can either set up a when
It's
then
harder.
or you can
Hmm.
negotiate with them two choices. Oh, okay, let's agree. If you're wanting to go play Legos, you can do it this time or that time. I just had that conversation with my daughter this morning. It was like, gosh, what was the thing that she needs to do? I can't even remember. Let's say it's that she has to put her clothes away and she was waking up, she was with a friend. And I knew if I just said, hey, you have to go clean up your room, she'd be like, but I'm playing with my friend. So I just led with, hey, I can see you're playing with your friend and you do still need to put away those clothes in your room. So do you want to do that, be like right now before you guys go play, or do you want to do it before you have lunch? And so then her sense of being able to choose one option is still, we both feel like a win. She feels empowered to have chosen.
Hmm.
Great
Can I
question.
ask another question about
Yep.
the about your Skylight calendar if you're more familiar with it because I'm
Yep.
still new to it, but things like library day. Our schools last year switched so they don't have library on the same day. Would you put that in as a schedule or a
Yes.
task
I
in
put
there?
it in the schedule so that they see
The
that. And
schedule.
we
So
did
like
that
at
with
8 in the
band.
morning it says library. Okay.
Yes. And then same with like I love that then the kids are owning like, oh,
Mhm.
we see that in the morning. It's library day. So as you're eating
And it
breakfast
has their color because they're color
yeah, and
coded. So
it's right
okay.
there on their schedule that it says, and I don't know if I'm like hearing you right of like where it would be on there. No, I put it as a
Mhm.
calendar because you have to go into a certain thing to see the task, but the default
To
is that
see the
you're
task, it's a
opening
separate
the
window. Yeah.
events. So I like them to
Yeah.
be able to just see at a glance, oh, it's library day.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, great. Okay, Lindsay, Carl, and Beverly, what questions do you have?
I'm just wondering if like the natural consequences, like, once you help with this, then you can go play. Or like in the morning, we'd like them to get ready, and then whatever time they have left, they can play.
Yeah,
What's the consequence if if they're just like, "Well, I'm gonna go play anyway? Like I'm gonna, like
yeah.
what comes after that if they're like, well, I don't. I'm not gonna do it, and I'm gonna go play, and you can't stop me, unless you're gonna come like take the toy out of my hand type of thing.
Yep. I always remember when with consequences, we try if the kid is being resistant, focus on what you can do, not what you can make the child do. So in an
Hmm.
instance like that, I would suggest saying something like, "Wow, that would be a really sad choice if you chose to ignore what I just told you, and this is
Hmm.
not going to be a great outcome that you're going to be excited about." And then I would wait till the child goes to school and I would scoop up those toys they went and played with. And then when they came home that day and were frustrated, it'd be like, yeah, I those seem to be distracting you from taking care of your responsibilities. So they're just going to have a break for a week. You
Yeah, that's
like,
kind of what I was thinking is like whatever they're playing with, then maybe has to take a break or whatever.
yeah, and if
But
so just emphasizing
go
that
ahead.
if you're like they're too old to like take it out of their hands, I don't want to get in that physical power struggle. Remember, there's always night, there's always while they're at school. You can always say the remote is now in a special place that you're not going to be aware of. And when you show me that you've taken care of this cleanup, then I'm happy to check it out to you. Sort of like Megan was saying with the toys, or the iPad is now going to fully be in a place that is, I'm the only one that knows where it is, and I'm happy to check it out with you as soon as I see that you took care of the thing I asked you to do this morning.
Okay. And then what about if it's a pet, like a bearded dragon? Like that's what's distracting or they're playing with, like, because you
Yeah.
can't necessarily like put the bearded dragon away.
But you could say something like, let me just be clear with you. If there are 3 days that you do not feed your dragon, you're letting me know we're not able to be responsible having this pet and we'll be rehoming it, right? Or something like
Um,
that.
well, that's not the issue. More just if they're not getting ready to go because they're playing with their pet, and
Oh, they're
I
distracted
guess
by
it's
the pet.
right. It's kind of like the same thing. Like we might have to rehome the pet. That just seems so sad.
No, I mean, I hate to say, I mean, I never want to say things I won't follow through on, but I would probably
Yeah.
say something like that. Like, let me just be clear, if the bearded dragon distracts us from being able to do what we're supposed to be doing, then we may not be showing we're able to have a pet. And often that does get them to listen. But in some instances like this, I do think you can follow through. Like I had one family, they were so tired of their daughter never wanting to brush her hair and that being such a battle. And we just said, let's make an agreement in advance. If you have 3 more arguments about brushing hair, she's letting you know she's not mature enough to handle long hair, and we're going to get a short haircut. Not like you're going to buzz it and make her
Wow.
miserable and something, but it's like,
Right.
that's just cause and effect. It is way easier to brush your hair when it's short. So, and that really changed the child having whining and crying and resistance every time it was hairbrushing time. So it could, um, maybe taking the animal away is not the quite right example, but it could be something else like, guys, you're not listening and that's taking a lot of energy away. If you're not able to get out the door without getting distracted by the animal, like, you're letting me know we need to wake up 15 minutes earlier tomorrow so that you have more time. And if they're like, no, we love to sleep till the last minute or whatever, doesn't have to be
Okay.
the only possible outcome. But
I
looking
don't think
for,
that's, yeah. Okay.
it's like we just have to find what makes sense, is as connected as
Yeah.
possible to the resistance. But if we just say, hey, quit ignoring me, that for sure doesn't usually change behavior.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think I've got enough of a gist. I mean, it's usually distracted by toys, but then I thought that's like 1 out of 10 times it's the dragon. And so it wouldn't really be the main issue anyway, but I just thought I would see
Yeah, that's a
see
that's
what
a tricky
ideas there
twist.
are.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just have to think about it more with that like model of
Yeah.
like, okay, yeah, just need to kind of or to just to yeah, just to be real. I think Isaac is old enough. He's almost 9 now, where it is just like, hey, like we do need to get ready for school and, just kind of talking with him about it.
And you can have natural consequences that way too. If it's like he's distracted, he's not getting out the door. I have my kid's standing outside the door, so I don't want him to know this, but I have talked with teachers before to say, if my child is late to school, can you please give him some sort of extra homework or extra worksheet? Like, I want there to be a
Oh,
consequence. And so they know, like, so that they can own it. And so it's not just on me or
yeah.
not just on the tally marks that they were late. And back to the whole, like, I don't want to own feeling like I'm the bad parent. I want the teacher to know, just so you know, we're working on this, and I'm working on Caleb owning his morning responsibilities. So if there's any way you can have an outcome at school for
Mm-hmm.
him if he is late, that would be great. And they're usually like, yes, we love parents that are wanting to help the kids learn responsibility. So absolutely, I'm happy to give 2 extra math worksheets or something.
Yeah, and then I guess like with summer camps where there's not like a, well, I guess I don't know. I guess you could do it with the counselor, but I'm just thinking like if it's only just making us late for what we want to do, I guess there can be a consequence of an extra chore when we get home or something before TV. Like if you make me
Absolutely.
late
That's
for
what love and
camp, then
logic, that's what love and logic calls paying back the energy. So you know what? It could be like,
right.
gosh, you really made me extra hard at work and I missed 15 minutes of work. So we're going to do a 15-minute earlier bedtime so that I can take care of that work in the evening right now or something like that.
Yeah.
Even if that isn't really necessary, that could be a good natural consequence.
Okay. Thanks.
Lindsay and Carl. Carl says, reminder for things that happen all the time but hard to implement consequences would be things like closing doors. Yeah, so like this reminds me, one of my pet peeves is lights being left on. I'm from California originally. I know, sorry, Montanans, that's terrible. But we were really always conscientious about not having lights left on. And so I got tired of reminding them, turn off your lights, turn off your lights, turn off your lights. So we implemented a new system, which again is all about this and not rescuing them from it, which is if you go to school or you run out to play and I see your light left on, I have a tally system on their bathroom mirrors with a dry erase marker, and I just keep track all through the month, and they owe me 50 cents per tally mark. And they're at the age now where they do have some Christmas money, tooth fairy money. That's what the consequence ended up being. Again, I wanted to externalize that this is not me going to nag and remind you. I need to find some way there's an external effect that is motivating enough for you to take responsibility for that. And it has made a giant change on them. I think they had to pay me $2 each the first month. They currently owe me I'm a little month behind actually. I got to get them to pay up for August. It's getting added in from July. We've combined 2 months now. They're both going to owe me about $2 over the course of 2 months. I think it's looking like right now. So I would look for, if closing doors is frustrating to you, what can be the outcome that is something meaningful to them? Like, I don't want to keep reminding you that Raising Mentally Strong Kids wording, which I really love from that book, is like, I love you too much to nag and remind you. So I'm just going to be clear. If I see the door open, X is going to happen. You owe me 15 minutes of an extra chore, or we'll take 50 cents out of your allowance because that's the air conditioner money going out the door. We're air conditioning the whole neighborhood, or whatever feels like a natural connection. But great question. Lindsay says, I'm curious about picking up trash and dishes throughout the day, something that needs to happen consistently, not like a chore. So, Lindsay, I do, again, just the rhythm of life, I would say, where are you able to follow through on that? It would be great if they remembered all day long, but I would say, this is going to be a new plan, guys. Like, how can we make this matter to them? Like, if I am looking around and I see a bowl in the middle of the living room and you're out playing with friends, I'm going to call you in and say, yep, you got to come in because you left this on the table, and you're going to miss out on some playtime to have to come take care of it. You're welcome to go play again when it's taken care of. or you can choose to just be better at putting things away and then you never get interrupted from your play. That's one way that I've worded it with my kids, especially games and craft being left out. Like, let me just be clear with you that it's up to you to remember, but just so you know, if I see that you haven't put it away and they have little watches, I'm going to call you in. Doesn't matter what you're in the middle of with a friend, you're going to have to come back and take care of it. Or another thing would be just remembering this is going to be the flow of our evening is we have, put your shoes in your backpack ready to go for the day, for the next day, and go up and brush your teeth and all those things. And then we have book time. And before we start all of that, we're going to go around the house and put away anything that has not gotten put away from the day. So you can choose, do you want extra time in the night to have reading and snuggle time with me? Or do you want to use some of that nighttime having to pick everything up that you didn't do that day? Up to you. So some way that they get to experience the difference between the choice of cleaning up as you go versus the choice of not. Great question, Lindsay. Okay. Anything else? We have 5 minutes left. Any last questions we haven't gotten to? Go ahead,
If no one else has anything. I'm just curious how how forgiving to be when they are having just kind of an off day. I feel like yesterday my kids were great. They played together well all morning. They got ready without us having to ask. It
Yeah.
was like a seamless morning.
Yeah.
Today was absolute opposite of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew my son especially woke up. I could just tell.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to be sort of forgiving, but also like, but yesterday you did all this perfectly. So I know you're capable. So I think just kind of wondering how much to
Mm-hmm.
forgive,
Yeah.
but still teach them that even on bad days, they still have responsibilities.
Yeah. That's such a good question. The biggest thing that comes up to me is we've got to leave room for the upset. So if we are only setting our morning out for enough time for it to go perfectly and well, then we're setting ourselves up for failure. If we can leave a little, always leave a buffer. Like we get our kids up, I think, an hour before we have to go out the door. And if they just did tut 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 tut, everything would be done in 30 minutes, but they never do tut 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 tut, right? Or some days they do, and then they like get out a book or they do something fun. But at least 50% of the time, there's a grumpy, groany, moany. My daughter's like emotional and doesn't want to get dressed, or my son is like distracted and like trying to work out with weights, or like, right? There's like these different channels. And so leave room for the ability like that the grumpiness can involve the 30-second silent hug, the other tools we've talked about in our work together, connection before correction. Oh, it's just hard to get going today. So that you can hope that some connection, some validation can support while still having them do the thing. Right? So on their worst morning, it takes the full hour to drag their feet the whole way and get their own clothes on, but they still do it. On their best day, they do it quick and snappy and move on to playing. So any way that you can leave more buffer for it to go good or bad is first of all. And then second of all, I think obviously lead with your heart and your relationship and your gut, and your mom gut knows what matters. And if just supporting your child that morning and saying, gosh, it's just one of those days, I'm going to help you put that shirt on, I'm going to get those shoes on, I love you and you're having a hard time, follow that gut. Right? This is like circle of security says, we only have to get it right 30% of the time. There's some room for us to not have to be militant about it. And if at all possible, you can look for ways to delay the responsibility too. So it's like he's supposed to feed the dog and it's just like a slog to even get him dressed and brush the teeth and do the essentials. you're like, you know what? It feels like it's probably going to feel like too much to feed the dog this morning. So why don't I trade you? I usually feed at night and you do the morning. Let's flip flop. I'll take care of the morning and you could do tonight. Would that feel better? Yeah. So if there's any way to still hold responsibility with a little bit of flexibility.
I like that. And I like the idea of the, it should only take a half an hour. So maybe from 7 to 7:30 is what we plan for. And that would give him a whole half an hour to play if he wanted to. Instead of all of a sudden at 7:30 and we're like, hey, we got to start getting ready. And then they're rushed. And so, yeah, I think that's probably a flip that we need to make with school starting is we start at 7. And if you're done, then awesome. You get a half an hour of play. Because usually we let them get up and play before we start getting ready. So I think I'll flip that in our schedule and see if that helps.
Absolutely. It's like, let's not give the ice cream first and expect that they
Yeah.
will eat the dinner just to make us happy. It's like, no, no, no. 9 times out of 10, they need the motivator of when you've done your dinner, then you get ice cream. And that makes it so much easier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Great
Thanks for that
question.
advice.
Okay, you guys, thank you so much for all of your questions. You all do have the ability to have a 15-minute follow-up with me via Messenger, some texting and voice messages back and forth. If you have any other personalized follow-up questions we didn't get to, please reach out via Messenger or email, so Facebook Messenger or email to have that time with me. And then secondly, please keep an eye out on your email because I will be sending the follow-up recording of this and a few handouts to be assisting you. And I'll send a link to that Skylight calendar in case anyone's interested in getting that also. But thank you all for being here. And this is going to continue to be a monthly thing. You can always go to sustainableparenting.com/workshop to see what the next upcoming topics are. And if you want to purchase any past workshops that you weren't able to attend live, they are available at a discount. All right. Have a great rest of your day. Wishing you success this fall, everybody. Let's all like, go team. We got this. Bye.